Day 4 of gloom and doom as this coastal storm remains pretty much in the same place it was yesterday and pretty much in the same place it was the day before. But fear not, one more day of this before weather conditions genuinely improve. We have a cool weekend outlook, though the temperatures will compare to what we just had anyway. But it's always better if you're going to not get out of the 50s, you want to do it with sunshine. And we've got two tropical systems out there. One is not to worry. The other one is heading into the Caribbean, and it could prove problematic for the folks in the Caribbean and the Western Caribbean down the road. All that and more. Where else but tonight here on the Joe and Joe Weather Show, brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon. They are Long Island's largest supplier of rock salt. And each day we get closer and closer to the first snow, so just bear that in mind if you are in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut tri-state area. Of course, once the weather clears up and we get into a nice stretch of dry weather, you might want to mulch up your property or topsoil. And of course, it never is a bad thing to make sure you're prepared in case there's adverse weather, that you have batteries, flashlights, a working generator, sump pumps, whatever it is. 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon. The telephone number is 631-756-1125, and the website is
OmniTrueValue.com, Joe.
Okay, I'm here somewhere. Just a second. Hold on. There I am. You can't see. I got to tilt the camera down. I don't know if you can see. I have my bear. So welcome to tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show. This is my bear that greets you at the door. Now, of course, if somebody on the chat board tonight says something inappropriate,
yeah,
we flip the sign to the back from welcome to go away.
All right. Well, there you go.
Well,
do you have a name for the bear?
No, my daughter and my son-in-law got this for me last year, and he sits near the front door to either welcome, or if it's someone that I don't want to come in, I flip it around to go away. But there's a few of them outside. The real ones are outside. I don't have a real one in here. All right, day 4
Thank goodness.
Day 4 of gloom and doom. I guess go away is appropriate because we all want this storm to go away, but it's got one more day before it gets out of the way. And I was thinking back, even in the spring months, so we had a stretch or two that lasted maybe a couple of days. This is going to be 5 days of what I always refer to as gloom and doom, and I think it might be the longest bad weather streak that we've had in quite a while. But there is hope. Nothing lasts forever in the weather world, and this storm is going to get kicked out to the east, but we've got a little bit more work to do.
Yeah, I would have thought that tomorrow would have been the day of improvement, but by the way I'm looking at some of the data coming in now, Joe, it looks like we could go through yet indeed another day of gloomy, dreary weather out there, along with more wetness in the form of rain and showers. I'm especially interested in the 3-hour precipitation that is indicated by the plumes, la plume
de la Brioschi, yes.
Yeah, yes. It doesn't really look all that pleasant. I'm just going to show you on the maps here what I'm talking about. Again, this is the 3-hour or the 3-hourly QPF, and notice, if you will, that this is about where we are right now, showing some precipitation, and then it actually seems to go down a bit once we get to about 4 or 5 in the morning, and then all of a sudden we get another climb of precipitation here by about 2 or 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Then it quickly drops down or drops off, and finally I think we're done with this by the after midnight hours tomorrow night. And then, as you can see, a nice flat area here, This little bump that you see here for Friday in the late day and evening hours is a cold front that will usher in a surge of unseasonably cool weather for the upcoming weekend. And the front passage may actually drop a couple of showers in parts of our area, let's say, about late afternoon or early evening on Friday. But otherwise, we're looking for a couple of really nice days coming up Thursday and for most of Friday. Not only dry and not only sunny, but also rather mild. These temperatures today struggling to make it much above 50 or the low 50s. When we get to Thursday and Friday, though, temperatures are quite possibly going to get to 70. In fact, here you go. Here's the 70-degree line, and we've got temperatures topping off. This is for New York City. The mean is 69. That's not the mean, actually. That's the model. Well, all right. The AF. Yeah, you put your cursor on what you. Oh, there it is. There's the mean. The mean high temperature for Friday, for Thursday, I should say, 70.91. Let's round it off to a 71. That would be for Thursday, and then for Friday, maybe not hitting quite 70, but getting up there to near 70 degrees. And then look at that sharp. I do mean sharp drop off in temperature after Friday afternoon, as that much chillier air works its way into our region in time for the upcoming weekend.
Ken DPW hitting first to hit the tip jar tonight. Thank you, Ken, and welcome to everybody on the chat board. Welcome to everyone watching the Joe and Joe Weather Show on this Tuesday night, the 4th of October. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and subscribe to the Joe and Joe Weather Show here on my channel, Joe Cioffi. And you can watch us Monday through Thursday at 7:35 start time, and Sundays we do our Sunday show at 11 a.m. and then we're off Friday and Saturday unless there is a storm around. Where is he? William from the Jersey Shore says this is. I don't know. Where did you get this number? Never seen anything like this in 25 years. I guarantee you, if I went through the weather records, I would probably find at least once a year where we get these 3, 4, and 5 day stretches where the weather is pretty miserable. And I understand that this is not good for the folks who are trying to do business on the New Jersey shore. But first of all, there's nothing we can do about it. Second of all, this was actually a pretty good summer when you think about it, because we hardly most of the weekends, Joe. I think just about all of the weekends, maybe except for one or two, there wasn't a drop of rain. So you know what? It is what it is. The good news is, I hate using cliches like that, but if you don't like this weather, as you often say, Joe, the checkbook always gets balanced at some point, and it looks like, unless there's a brief, and I think it probably would be a brief shower. I think you could even make an argument that nothing happens when the cold front passes through on Friday. But nonetheless, unless there's a shower from that front Friday, we may not see a drop of rain for the next 7 days after this system pulls out of the way. So just be a little patient for an extra day, and you'll get some nice weather to move on in.
And what was the gentleman you were just making reference to a couple of moments ago on the chat board saying that this was unique, whatever we were going through right now?
Yeah, he said it's the first time in 25 years, and if you go through the weather records, Joe, I'm sure you'll find that this happens at least once a year, where we get a 3 or 4 day stretch of weather where it's doom and gloom like this, particularly in the spring. Sometimes in the fall, but it happens more often in the springtime. So you know what? Deal with it. I was thinking today. That Sal Blandino, who's not on the chat board tonight, because if those of you who don't know who Sal Blandino is, he regularly comments on the videos, on the YouTube shows and the YouTube videos, and I love the guy to death because he's just too funny in a lot of ways. It's not allowed to rain. You're not allowed to have clouds, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I was thinking, I should just Google him a list of places on Earth where it doesn't rain at all, and with real estate listings in those places, and say you need to go there. I'm sure in some of those places are less than hospitable.
Oh, poor Sal. I said last night we ought to do a T-shirt with Sal on it, or Sal's name on it. But no, we're not gonna torture Sal
Yeah,
like that.
William at the Jersey Shore. Sal doesn't own a business at the Jersey Shore, okay? And even if he did, it's kind of pointless to complain about something you have no control over and can't change. All right. So I don't know what you expect us to do about it. Uh, but you seem to live in a world of apps where you're the perfect person and everybody else is not. I guess I'm still touchy from yesterday. All right, let's bring up the
I had
surface
the.
map. Are you,
Oh, okay,
are,
because
you have the
I had
radar?
the radar.
All right, so
Yeah.
hold on to those in a second. I just want to go through the surface map tonight, just real quick. So this is what it looks like tonight at 5 o'clock when the Weather Service plots that three map every 3 hours, and the low has probably moved about 30 miles further north and is sitting somewhere east southeast of Cape May by about 40 or 50 miles. It's essentially been rotating counterclockwise within a 60-mile radius for the last few days. 1007 pressure. The gradient has relaxed, which is good. We don't have that big high to the north like we did when this whole thing got started. The higher pressures are weaker and more to the west, so that's better news because we still have coastal flooding issues. All these, with this wind from the northeast, which began over the weekend, a lot of water is piled on along the shore, so these tides have been running high with some places getting moderate coastal flooding, and I think that's probably going to continue into Wednesday before it subsides. I guess we should be thankful that we're kind of in between moon phases, so the tides aren't running at their peaks like they would if we had a new moon or just came off a new moon or came off a full moon. So it could have been worse with respect to the coastal flooding. But just to back this up, I'm going to back this up to yesterday. Actually, this is Monday. 1 o'clock Monday afternoon. The low was east of the Delmarva Peninsula. And as I run through these maps, I'm going to switch from now we're at Tuesday, I'm sorry, Monday 11 o'clock, Tuesday 2 a.m., 5 a.m., 8 a.m., 11 a.m., 1 p.m., 2 p.m., 5 p.m. And you can see that low has just done absolutely nothing. But as I said, hope springs eternal, and it will be moving out. And Mr. Rayo has a look at the radars tonight. So this looks like you're starting with Upton.
Yes, and you can plainly see on the Upton map. Let me just do something here. Boom, there we go. But for much of the day, we have been in kind of at least in the immediate New York City metropolitan area, we have had nothing more than just maybe a little spotty drizzle, if that. And in fact, it's been dry. In fact, it was so dry that the New York Mets, who had a doubleheader scheduled for today, actually just completed about 10 minutes ago the first game of a doubleheader. Now, the big question is, will they get the second game in? And for that, we have to look off to the south and east, and we can see that there are areas of rain, and maybe even with some of the brighter shades of yellow and orange, embedded thunder, maybe. So that is going to be moving in from the east. Notice that the movement of the precipitation is mostly west-northwest, and so it looks like, well, I can tell you one thing. If you're living across the Jersey shoreline, that's where these showers, this line of showers down here, thunderstorms may be embedded. That looks like it's heading in that direction. Joe, since last Friday, there have been parts of central New Jersey that have received 7 inches of rain. And this is only going to add to that. The New York area has received, since last Friday, maybe about 2 inches of rain. And it looks like there could be, I would say another quarter to a half inch more to come in the hours to come. Maybe not immediately, but when we get on to, let's say, 10 or 11 o'clock, this area here will certainly, I think, be in the New York metropolitan area, and will be resuming the spell of rain. Rain up here to the north and west of the city. And it has been raining quite a bit in places like Dutchess County, Ulster County, north of Sussex County, New Jersey, Orange County. They've been getting their fair share of rain. And as you can see, here's the corridor of relatively dry weather that has been occurring for the last several hours. But now here's a renewal of that potential for rain from that stalled storm system, again, heading north and west and heading for, again, the immediate tri-state area for later on tonight.
Should mention, by the way, that more than one person, there were reports last night, there were several of them in western Passaic County and in a few other places in northwest New Jersey that saw sleet. Reports of ice pellets. And by the way, Joe, I checked on one of those places, and in for now I forgot the name of the lake. It starts with a P. But they what struck me was the fact that the elevation was only about 200 feet above sea level. So we're not talking about some of the higher tops in northern New Jersey. This was far lower. I suppose we shouldn't be surprised. There must have been some evaporational cooling that occurred with all of this. And lo and behold, I guess October 3rd is probably as early as I've ever seen ice pellets. I haven't seen them, but to have reports of ice pellets in this area on October 3rd is pretty, I would think it's very rare. Very rare. So now you've gone to this is the Binghamton radar, am I correct?
Well, as soon as you started talking about northwest Jersey and parts of northeastern Pennsylvania, I figured, well, let's take a look and see what's going on up there. And you could see that they have had their fair share of moderate to even heavy activity. Once again, New York City has been in a corridor of dry weather, relatively speaking, but places to the north and west of New York, from about Sussex County on north and west, has been seeing quite a bit of rain this afternoon. And they continue to see, and notice again, all the precipitation moving along on a southeast to northwest trajectory, a very unusual movement for precipitation, but that's the way it has been going so far. Let me go up to
all right,
Albany.
Well, you're switching to Albany. The chairman, Scott Briller, hitting Super Chat. Thank you, Scott. And yes, Johnny Quest has got Briller Jeopardy tonight. And Bernard Lady also hitting Super Chat tonight. Thank you, Bernard Lady. She said, I've been here. I just haven't checked in. Well, you've checked into the tip jar. We appreciate it. By the way, 53 likes so far. Thank you for those of you who hit the like button. We love it when we go to 100. So if you like the show, hit the like button. And we thank you for that. And now the Albany radar.
Well, Albany, again, is showing most of the activity to the south and to the west of the Capital District. And well south, again, look, the broad area, including New York and much of Long Island, seeing very little in terms of any measurable precipitation. I'm going to quickly go over to Philadelphia and see what they have. Yeah, and you could see that a lot of the activity is hitting south of New York City, north and west of New York City. But I think that is going to be coming to an end soon, because you could see, Joe, here's a band of moisture entering the picture from the east or from the right, moving toward the west. And I'm sure that will begin moving in on New York in a little bit, and may very well be bringing a steadier period of rain to the New York area and also to Citi Field. So those people who are watching Game 2 of the doubleheader this evening may need to open up their umbrellas. By the way, I watched Game 1, and Citi Field looked almost empty, because I think a lot of people were scratching their heads and saying, well, should we go? Should we not go? My reason, people last night may remember that I was supposed to go tonight to the game. My sister and I were supposed to go. We kept thinking back, it's a terrible day to be watching a baseball game, even though we had access to a place that would have had us indoors. But still, I mean, it was terrible. And, the fact of the matter is, I also couldn't go because Renata does some babysitting during the week, She there's an oil leak with her car, and we're going to get that repaired next week, probably on Monday. But well, you just won't use the car for a while it's dripping. It's not a terrible leak. She can go, short distances with the car. But instead, she decided that she'd take my car to go to work this morning. And I'm looking at this and I'm saying to myself, well, now do I dare to take the car with the oil leak from where I am all the way down into the Bronx to pick up my sister, and then for the two of us to drive over to Citi Field, and then having to make the reverse trip coming back? And I said, no, between the rain and the cold weather and the wind, I said, the heck with it. So, and I do believe that the second game is going to have a rain delay because, again, we're watching that radar and watching carefully as all this moisture building up over the Atlantic Ocean is moving westward and heading for the New York metropolitan area. So for those of you out there saying, well, why are you here tonight? Why aren't you at Citi Field? That's the reason. So there you go.
And I got the satellite loop, which I could have pulled up yesterday's satellite loop. It really hasn't. Even the thunderstorms that are out in the ocean, they're pretty much in the same place. There's some rather interesting lightning strikes going on south and east of Long Island, and you can see them there flaring up. This is a cold core system. This is not a tropical system. This is not the remnants of Ian. We sort of had some of that on Saturday, and they moved out quickly. The remnant upper low, the upper air storm with this, settled in southern West Virginia and gradually became a cold core system. And when you look at where everything is in the upper air and everything going on at the surface, it's not tropical. It's definitely cold core. And in fact, the other thing is if this were a warm core system out here in the Atlantic Ocean where you sort of see this swirl of low clouds, that's where you would be seeing the concentration of thunderstorms. And then we would be dealing with a far different animal here. But nonetheless, the rain has been substantial. And up in upstate New York, temperatures in upstate New York were actually warmer than they were downstate, and where we've been seeing all the clouds and the rain, and those clouds run down all the way into North Carolina. I'm going to switch over here to the U.S. loop, and we can take a look at what's going on across the country because there's not a whole, there's actually, except for the coastal flood warnings that are up in our area from Long Island and points south down to the Delmarva Peninsula, the various coastal flood advisories and coastal flood warnings. The rest of the nation is pretty quiet. There are no watches. There's no warnings of any kind. Just silence from that respect. And you'll notice that there are clouds. Now, this is going to start to get out of the way because this weather system that's back in the plains, and you see the clouds there, and you also see some showers and some thunderstorms, a few lightning strikes going on in central Nebraska and southeastern South Dakota. Those are moving east. This is starting to move, and we've been waiting for it to get kicked along by an upper trough dropping down out of Canada. That is beginning to it's starting to come in now. So once this moves a little bit further to the east, it's going to kick out the system that is sitting and over us and not going anywhere. So like as I said, we just need another day. And then on the wide radar, you'll notice you see in the northeast showers. Mostly south of I-90 in upstate New York. There's a couple that have snuck up along the northway. They look to be on the light side. And also down in Maryland, central and western Maryland, getting some showers and a few downpours. Lighter showers to the east in the Washington, D.C., Baltimore area. I don't even know how much of that is actually reaching the ground. Further south, though, the radars are silent from North Carolina down to Florida for the most part. A little precip aloft there in Louisiana, also a little bit of precip aloft in South Texas. And then we have these showers running from the western lakes down into western Iowa and eastern Nebraska. You can see the thunderstorms I pointed out on the satellite in that narrow little broken line that's moving through east central Nebraska. And also seeing some of this action is some of this tropical moisture is from the Pacific Hurricane Orlene, and some of it, a lot of it actually got left behind in the mountains in Mexico, but some of it snuck up, and you're seeing some showers and downpours in New Mexico and down into eastern Arizona. Also, some scattered showers and a few downpours in southern Colorado. The West, the vast majority of the West, Joe, is nice and dry. And take a look at WPC, starting with day one, where this is from 8 o'clock this evening, which we've just clicked on to 8 o'clock here Eastern Time, to 8 o'clock tomorrow evening. And you see the rain covering southern New England down to the coastal mid-Atlantic. There are some patches of a half inch or a little bit more being indicated. And then I'm going to go to day two, and it's all but gone. Take a look at day three. We have this front approaching, but no precip is being indicated from southern New England on southward. A little bit, and what is being indicated precip north and west in upstate New York, western PA into West Virginia, Ohio, very light. We're talking about a couple of hundredths there. Day four, nothing. Day five, nothing. Day six, nothing. Day seven, nothing. If there was a day 8 here, I suspect that maybe the day 8 would also be nothing too. So from the 5 miserable days, we're probably going to wind up getting 5 days with little or no rain. So there's your payback.
Yes, and Joe, let me see what I have here. This is goes east, sector view northeast, band 7, and this perfectly shows what we're talking about. What I'm talking about in terms of the New York area being in a hole, so to speak, in terms of the rain. There is all of the heavy-duty precipitation that has been falling over northeastern Pennsylvania, north of northwestern New Jersey, and into upstate New York. Here, of course, is New York and Long Island. But now, looky what's coming in from the west, from the east, I should say, moving westward, is the next round of wetness. And if memory serves me correct, the last couple of days, Joe, I have been mentioning that I thought at least that there could be a chance for some rumbles of thunder or some lightning in the immediate New York area, even though SPC, the Storm Prediction Center, did not outline any part of the Northeast with the chance for any kind of general thunderstorm coverage. And yet we just saw from the thunderstorm map lighting up over the Atlantic Ocean out here. And now we're seeing all of this area beginning to grow in terms of overall coverage south of Long Island. But eventually, I think this is a 1 hour loop. So I think in a couple hours, all of this stuff that you see here is going to be at least partway onto Long Island and Connecticut and heading for the immediate New York City area. That's why I said that the second game of this doubleheader the Mets are playing tonight might very well be in jeopardy because of all of this stuff that is building and moving inexorably in the direction of New York City.
David Fuller hitting the tip jar tonight. Thank you, David. He says, good evening, Joe. We finally got some good rain here. Does this mean the drought should be over soon? I would think that most of the area between what fell over the weekend and what's fallen the last couple of days, I would think that a lot of those areas have gotten significant drought relief. I don't know how you feel about it.
Well, what I'll do is I'll just simply go to the Climate Prediction Center, CPC. Why is it that every time I type in CPC on Google to get to the Climate Prediction Center, it always sends me first to the Chinese American Planning Council? I'm not interested in the Chinese American Planning Council. I'm interested in Climate Prediction Center. There we go. I found it now.
All right. Before you put it, just really quick, just to touch on what you said with the thunderstorm issue with SPC. But now, for some reason, I can't get the map up on the screen here. I don't know what's going on. Hold on a second. And now I've lost you. So just a moment.
They've lost me, Joe.
Oh, God, Joe. This is like, what is going on?
Joe, you don't understand. This is technology that is to make your life easier.
Yeah, they updated the software. They updated my broadcasting software, and it was fine. And it was perfectly fine. But they did something to it, and now it happened once yesterday, and it happened today. So give me a second here, folks. Just be patient. I will get that screen up there momentarily. Just got to hit a few buttons. Okay.
Hello again.
Yes, here we go.
Here's my best to you.
There you
Are
go.
your skies all gray?
It's there. I just wanted to point out, Joe, I don't know when SBC did this because, frankly, I haven't really looked at them for the last couple of days, but they did add an area of general thunderstorms from southern and southeastern New England down to the Delmarva Peninsula. So now you can...
Wait a minute. They obviously were among the 6,500 people who watched last night's Joe and Joe show.
Oh well, I don't have any doubt of that.
Yes.
So now there you are. So go ahead. There's your drought relief map. Now this was through September 29th. So the rain we just had is not it obviously is not part of this map.
Correct. Well, all of this heavy rain that entered the picture came on the 30th of September and beyond. And this is Thursday, the 29th, which is the day before. So what we'll have to wait for is when they update the next map, which will probably be at the end of the week. But, the day before all the rains arrived, you can see, well, let me go state by state, if you will. We'll look at New York State first. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So we still had severe drought in southern Dutchess County, all of Putnam County, where I am, northern Westchester County, southeast Orange County, and the north half of Rockland County. That's where severe drought was indicated. And also, it looks like severe drought across the southern half of Long Island. Meanwhile, if you go up along Interstate 87, up toward Albany, abnormally dry toward the Albany area, Rensselaer County, also Columbia County, and Greene County. This, of course, is Ulster County. So one half of Ulster was experiencing abnormally dry weather, and the lower half was in moderate drought. Sullivan County here, not really doing all that badly. In fact, most of the area not having much in terms of a drought problem at all. Most of New York State, I would say about 75% at least, with no drought issues, except, again, in the southeastern part of the state. And again, that's certainly going to be alleviated when we get into the new report that comes our way later this week or this weekend. And as you can see on the general overview of the Northeast, again, for New Jersey, Long Island, southeastern New York, and a good part of Connecticut, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, that's where the dry conditions, the drought conditions are or were. And the rest of the Northeast, no real weather problems, no real drought problems, save for the occasional spotty, abnormally dry condition or ranking in parts of the area. But again, not as bad as, and certainly we know it's not going to be as bad when we factor in all the rain that we had from Friday on. Rest of the United States, the eastern half of the country, some drought issues, but for the most part, no problem. Still out west, a lot of problems in terms of abnormally dry weather, although if you remember just a couple of months ago, it was severe drought here in Arizona and parts of New Mexico. Now it is just nearly abnormally dry. The place with probably the worst drought issues, I guess, is right here over in central sections of California, where the drought situation is probably, looming on severe. But that's the way it has been for a long time, for much of the year. The West has had the dry problem. The East has had some issues, but really not all that bad.
And James H. says, hi, Joe and Joe. You're right. Earlier today around 1:30, there was some lightning and thunder in northern New Jersey. And he'll send me a radar clip, and his cousin confirmed that there was loud thunder in northern New Jersey. So anyhow, let's go to let me. I'm trying to get my act together here, Joe. Okay. By the way, I'm still here in case anybody's wondering. All right. All right. So let's go to the next round of maps that I was going to bring up, and that was, what was I up to? So we did that one. So I guess we could go over to the GFS, and as I said earlier, Joe, we're going to be done with rain for a while. And October is I think October in New York City statistically is the driest month of the year. So it's kind of an anomaly with regards to what, in a sense, of what's happened with this stalled low. But every once in a while you get it. But now we're going to go into a pattern that fits the month a bit better. And you can see on the let me roll the GFS back because I had it rolled to 7 days from now. And going forward, everything's moving again from west to east. And I'll bring the upper air to explain that. But the low still has another day. And then you see already during the day tomorrow, it starts to pivot southeast and eastward and goes goodbye. So it's gone by Thursday morning. We should have developing sunshine. Maybe there's some leftover clouds, but we should see developing sunshine and a nice day. And reflexively, just the fact that you've got sun and the cool marine air is gone, temperatures are going to jump up at probably above 70 just about everywhere. And then you can already see back over in the lakes that we've got a cold front that is setting up. And here it is. And there's a big high. Joe, now the high is a 1040 high at Lake Winnipeg. I mean, that's
Wow.
that's a big high for this time of year. And there's some cool air, certainly. Even with the first dashed blue line you see there across northern Wisconsin and Minnesota, what we call the 540 thickness line. That's usually the line that defines snow versus rain. And you've got some blue there north of Lake Huron. That high comes down. The cold front comes through on Friday. It looks like it comes through dry. The GFS's timing of it is around early afternoon. And then the cool air comes in Friday night and Saturday. Ooh, that 540 thickness gets all the way down to northwest New Jersey by Saturday morning. And the high drops down to Missouri. So that cool air and that it's all dry air is going to make its way all the way down the East Coast. Looks good for Saturday with the high in the east. In general, the weather across the country is dry. There are a few exceptions, like in the Southwest, with some residual tropical moisture. Sunday looks fine. The high settles in West Virginia. We'll probably see temperatures on Saturday, I think, Joe, not getting out of the 50s in most places. Maybe upper 50s to low 60s on Sunday. And then next week, we could see temperatures try to come up, but there are two cold fronts. There's one there's one late Wednesday, and the GFS on this runs rather bullish with the idea that there could be some showers with that. And then we get into a shot of cool air, and there's a secondary front that comes through on Friday with the coolest of the cool air for next weekend. Where we see our thicknesses here, Joe, get down to 520. Is that between 522 and 528 for next weekend? And also, while that's going on, if you look down near the bottom where it says 90W, 90 West, there is a hurricane that's going into the Yucatan, and I'll touch on that in a second. So that's a really nice, vibrant, cool air stretch of weather here from next Thursday all the way through the weekend. But the common thread through all of this is that, except for when the fronts go by, there's really not much, if any, rain, and there's certainly no prolonged 2, 3, 4, 5-day stretches of gloom and doom. And I know the snow lovers are looking at the 270-hour with the dark blue snows in New Hampshire and Maine, Joe. They've got their eyes glued to that. So what is going on with the upper air? And then we're going to do the tropics. So go ahead, Joe. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Do you want me to bring up an upper air chart, or that's what you were going to do?
Well, if you'd like to do it, you could do that.
Well, no. Do you want to do North America or?
Well,
let me.
I was going to do North America, but if you want to do North America, you certainly can do North America.
Oh, well, what I'll do is get the regions set up here, and
all right. Well, you set up. You know what? I'll do the tropics. I'll do the tropics.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Very good. So, I'll just switch geographies here to the Atlantic. Now we've got two tropical waves. Actually, I'm sorry. We have a new tropical depression tonight, uh, and I'll go to NHC so we can take care of that. Okay, let's do that. NHC. And all right, so tropical depression 12 has formed. It's at 14.9 north, 30.5 west. It is no issue here, obviously. This is going to be gone in a few days anyway, even if it were to strengthen into a tropical storm. And the Hurricane Center does briefly take this up to a tropical storm tomorrow into Thursday morning, and then they have it as a depression after that because the upper air winds are just not there. And you know what? If they wind up being wrong on this, it doesn't really matter overall because it's destined to just be somewhere out in the Atlantic and not bother anybody. But I would like to point out that we do have a second system, and that's here approaching the Windward Islands. And they're talking, 60% probability in the next 48 hours and an 80% in the next 5 days. Looks like they only said part of the discussion because all they said, all the thing says is regardless of development, heavy rain with localized flooding and gusty winds over the Windward Islands. So they left out a whole paragraph. I guess they're going to fix that at some point. See if they did it here. Broad area of low pressure east of the windwards continues to produce a large area of showers and thunderstorms. Early data from Air Force reconnaissance indicate the system did not yet possess a well-defined circulation. And I did look at the recon stuff, and that is indeed the case. Shower and thunderstorm displaced southeast of the center. However, upper-level winds are forecast to become more conducive, and on and on and on. So let me bring up the GFS and show you how it handles this. And you'll see it'll pop up those showers in the eastern Caribbean on Wednesday and Thursday. There's a low that pops up right there on Friday. It will probably pop up sooner than that, depending on how close the axis of this is to land. And then as it moves westward into the open waters of the Central Caribbean, it's going to start to develop, and it develops into a tropical storm, and then it develops into a hurricane with pressures down around 959. Southern Yucatan Peninsula now, I think, based on what's going on in the upper air, the last Fiona and Ian both had weaknesses in the flow north of 20 degrees north that they were able to exploit and move and turn northward. This time around, it's a bit different because there is this east. Even though we have this rather deep trough in the eastern part of the United States, and this is the map for Saturday. There's a deep trough in the eastern part of the United States. Underneath that, there's a very narrow east-west ridge that extends from the Atlantic west-southwest into the Gulf of Mexico. Well, this thing in the Caribbean is going to be trapped underneath that ridge, and it's going to want to move westward. And you'll notice that arm that extends out from the Atlantic into the western Gulf stays there right into next week. Doesn't give way. There's the northern part, all that troughing that's dropping down, and it is another strong trough that drops down in the middle of next week, doesn't get far enough south to weaken that ridge that's riding over the top, right in here. So unless something changes down here with the strength of this ridge, I would think that this system's probably destined to go more west than anything else. And not be a problem for the United States. Again, that's based on what I'm looking at right now. So now I will switch over. Mr. Rayo will take care of the other upper air. And
okay, well, as you can see,
and it's all yours.
As you can see, this first frame here is valid as of 8 o'clock, which is 20 minutes ago or so. On Tuesday evening, and notice, if you will, this cutoff low. This is the thing that has been giving us this protracted spell of miserable weather in terms of cloud cover, gusty northeasterly to northerly winds, and of course periods of rain and shower activity. This has to open up or get kicked out some way, shape, or form and it will eventually. In fact, if we move things along into tomorrow afternoon, 2 p.m., look, the thing has moved all of what, 50 or 75 miles? But there it is still, south and east of southern New Jersey and well south of Long Island. And as we continue to move along on into the wee hours of early Thursday morning, it now begins to pull away southeast of Cape Cod, continues to pull away. And now as it does, we get into what basically is a little bit of a ridge right here, a ridge of high pressure, which will bring us bright and sunny conditions for Thursday and probably into early on Friday. However, no sooner are we into Friday, but we have yet another short wave, another disturbance moving across north of the Great Lakes and over James Bay, south of James Bay in central Canada. And that is going to move through probably our area on Friday, late Friday afternoon, early Friday evening as a cold front. And that cold front is going to move on by, maybe a shower, maybe. And then behind it comes that flow of much cooler air. Notice, if you will, when we get into Saturday, that the flow on Saturday, Joe and everybody, is coming right out of here, right out of northern or north central Canada. You'll be able to smell the Canadian pines, as Alan Casper used to say on Channel 2. And then as that flow flattens out a bit over the weekend, it'll begin to moderate some, may begin to moderate as soon as Sunday. Temperatures on Saturday may have trouble making it to 60, but on Sunday we should get into the mid-60s, and who knows, we might even be close to 70 when we get to Monday. However, take a look. This fast flow out of Canada just is going to be unrelenting. Yet another short wave is going to be dropping on down and through southern Canada into the Great Lakes by a week from this Thursday. And this thing is going to pull down even chillier air. Look at how the gradient is so tight here. So we'll have probably another weather front sometime, let's say, later on Wednesday, a week from now, which will bring in a southwesterly flow of moderation, of milder temperatures. And then the next system will move on by. And then that opens the door to more chilly air, again, coming out of Canada. And you think that we're done with this? If you put any credence on these long-range progs, much beyond, let's say, 240 days, that's 10 days from now. But take a look, as I move things along faster, we have yet, oh my goodness, look at this. This is what Joe was pointing out just a few minutes ago with the cold air and the possibility of snow over portions of northern and central New England. To get that, you really need that chilly air to be tapped, and that's exactly what's happening here as that umpteenth next weather disturbance moves on through. And if you think that we're done with it, look at this. Now I'm going way, way, way forward, all the way out to as far as I can go with the GFS model. 384 hours, you've got yet another closed system that'll be over the northeastern United States. That would be for the 20th of October, and that could mean yet another surge of cold and another surge of precipitation. Joe, this is going to be really very active, very fast moving pattern for our part of the country, but it looks like every so often, every few days, another short wave or another upper level disturbance moving on in and through with yet another push of unseasonably cold weather, and along with that, some precipitation, which again, north of here, might even translate into some of the white stuff.
By the way,
amazing.
Did you know? I don't know if you go out. Did you go out far all the way out to 384 when there's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 contour cutoff in Northern Virginia? I mean, a really deep trough, very deep trough here. 543, 540, 537, 534. Like a 531 height in Northern Virginia. I mean, if that's right, my God, I'm going to be freezing here in North Georgia.
There you go.
But I just want
to. That's a close-up right there.
I want to look at the surface that goes with this. Oh, good Lord. Oh, please. Wait a minute. Let me get to the Let me get to this one. The eastern view. Yeah, there's a 990-ish low that is in central New Jersey, and there's light blue snow in southwest PA and West Virginia into western Virginia. The 540 thickness is almost to me, believe it or not. Look,
Yes.
The thing is what is definitely, regardless of what the specifics are, because we know it's not going to, the next run is going to have something different. But it's going to probably maintain the overall idea of this northwest flow that is set up from Canada being the main, the main pattern that we're going to be in for the next couple of weeks, which means cold fronts coming through with progressively cooler air masses as we get deeper into the month of October. I think that's a pretty fair statement to summarize what it looks like in the long range.
Cold.
Yes, cold.
And that's it in a word. What are you going to say? Cold.
Exactly.
But again, if you take the 384 hour at face value, and we all know, Joe, that when October 20th comes, well, we'll make a mental note of this. When October 20th comes, that Thursday, we'll have to think back to today, the 4th of October. You remember what they were talking about back on the 4th of October when that long-range map was suggesting all that cold? Because it's going to be different. I don't know how it's going to be different or what character it's going to be different, but it's going to be different.
Yes. Okay, so unshare so I can come up full screen here.
It is done.
Did I just disappear again? I hope not. Hold on. I'm here somewhere. I don't know what they did to this. Okay, so we're together again. We're not centered. We're about to be. I'm going to center us. Okay, because it's very important that we be centered. There we are. And now I'm over here. By the way, thank you for those of you who hit the like button. It took us over 100 likes. Maybe we could shoot for 150 before the show is done. So if you like the Joe and Joe Weather Show, hit the like button and subscribe by hitting the subscribe button above, and you won't miss a show 5 days a week, Monday through Thursday at 7:35, Sundays at 11 a.m. Fridays and Saturdays we're off unless there's something going on, and we'll let you know in those instances whether we are going to have a show. And by the way, Joe Weather reports that Aaron Judge hit his 62nd home run tonight.
Well, it's about time. I think he had one home run over the last 10 or 12 games. I would have thought that the pressure was getting to him. So congratulations to Mr. Judge for doing that.
Yes. So Johnny Quest has Briller Jeopardy, but before we do that, I do have... So James H. did send a radar loop of the thunderstorms that he was talking about earlier today in northern New Jersey, and you can see it here on this radar loop. I've blocked Joe out for a moment, put myself on the screen for a change. But you see that orangey patch there in northern New Jersey moving northwestward, and that was from earlier this afternoon. And as Joe had mentioned earlier also, that we do have the risk that there could be a thunderstorm, and we saw them on the satellite offshore with the lightning strikes. And let me just very fast see if they've gotten a little closer. Nah, they're getting a little closer, but they're not that close yet. So, Johnny, thank you, James H., for sending me that radar loop. Now, as I said, Johnny Quest has Briller Jeopardy tonight. Leon Probitsky, by the way, hitting Super Chat. Thank you, Leon. Thank you very much for hitting the tip jar. So here it is, Joe. Are you ready? So everybody on the chat board, oh God, they're not going to get any of these. Okay. So here are tonight's question. What are the five biggest what are the five biggest volcanic eruptions? The five biggest volcanic eruptions.
Okay. I'm sure Krakatoa has to be on that list.
Well, let's see what the chat board is saying about this, because we want the chat folks on the chat board can participate. Mount St. Helens says Mark DiChiara. No, that is not among the top five.
No.
Jason T says Pompeii, and Pompeii is on the list, Joe, as is Krakatoa east of Java. By Pompeii, you means the eruption, Debbie Carroll getting it correct, the eruption of Vesuvius. Yes, Chrysitopedia, Vesuvius. I don't know. I've never heard of Pele, the volcano.
Pele, I believe, was a volcano that erupted in the 1960s, the early 1960s.
Okay, so we've got two of them out of there. Vesuvius was number 5, by the way, and Pele was number 3.
I thought Pele, by the way, was a soccer player.
Yes, exactly. That's what came to mind. But I resisted going down that road. Number 3 was Pele in 1902. Number 5.
How about Pinatubo?
Hold on. Number 5 was Vesuvius in 79 AD. Joe and I were born just slightly after that. No, Pinatubo is not on here. And Krakatoa, east of Java, probably one of the worst movies ever made.
I don't even think it is east of Java.
No, it's not. It's actually west of Java, but before some focus group decided that it sounded better if they said east of Java versus west of Java. But that was back in 1883, and that was number 2. So we're left with number 4 and number 1. Okay, so there are 2 left here, number 4 and number 1. One of them occurred in.
Is the one that might be on that list the one that led to the winter, the 1816 winter in New England? What is the name of that one? I think it starts with a P.
Well, let's see if anybody on the chat boards mentioned it. Just taking a look. No, Mount Etna. Well, that's part of Vesuvius, so we got that part. Let's see. Bobby Livingsworth, you missed most of the show, but you could always watch it on the replay, just to let you know. No one's mentioned this one, but you're on the right track, Mr. Rayo.
Yes, the year without a summer.
Right. And it does not start with a P. It starts with a T.
Tambora,
yes.
Tambora. Da-da-da-da-da.
That was back in 1815.
But Mr. Clampton, it is so fun, Pandora. You, at your age, should be ashamed of yourself.
Right. Now, Pinatubo was, when was that?
1991, June of 91 in the Philippines.
Okay, this one was a few years before that, but Pinatubo's not on the top 5. It's the one remaining one, and honestly, I've never heard of it. So the other ones I've heard of.
Is this the one? Is this the Mexican volcano from '82, El Chicon? Chinchinel or whatever
El
it was.
Chichonal?
Yeah.
Do you remember what year that was?
I think it was 1982.
No, it is not that one. No, Chrysitopedia. It wasn't Mount Olympus on Mars. Nor was it Mount Shasta. It's okay. I have a sense of humor. I get it. Let's see. Yeah, I'm with you, Mark DiChiara. I do have a lot to learn about volcanoes, so I'll just give this one to everybody. Number 4 is the Nevado del Ruiz in 1985. I have no idea where that is.
I don't remember that.
Nevado del Ruiz, Ruiz, back in 1985. That is.
I have no memory of that, but.
And that completes the list. David Fuller, 2 additional super chat hits on the tip jar, and he says, "Please, Joe, no frost for me up north in New Milford, in New Jersey, or in Middletown. My trees are outside. I won't be able to bring them in for at least 2 months. Well, I think you got a problem here. If you're talking about 2 months, that means from now till December 4th. I got a feeling with the pattern that we've had. Well, we've already seen first frost. Chuck Cardillo up in the Catskills, he had his first frost, and a lot of upstate New York has had their first frost already. So I got a feeling with this pattern, Joe, that we're going to see early first frosts, maybe even down at the coast for the first time in a long time.
Could very well be. But then again, I do want to say that having unusually cold weather early, having frost unusually early, does not necessarily point to an unusually cold and snowy winter. Sometimes it doesn't work out the way you think it will, but in any case, we'll see what happens. Certainly, if the GFS is right with those continuing series of sharp cutoffs and shortwaves that are coming down from Canada through the rest of the month of October, at least up until the 20th, that we should very well be seeing spells of unusually cold and maybe frosty weather. We'll see.
Johnny Quest says Colombia is where the Nevado del Ruiz is located. So, like I said, I've never heard of it. Any parting thoughts here before we wrap it up for the night?
It looks like steady rain has now made its way in as far as central or east central Long Island, and it continues to move in a westerly fashion. So, the New York Mets in the first inning, three players in a row hit back-to-back home runs to give the Mets a 3-0 lead, and that would certainly be nice to look upon in years ahead. But if this rain continues to move forward toward Citi Field and starts falling, especially if it's before they get to an official game, those home runs may go by the wayside. We'll see what happens.
Lunine Chess asked, Joe, this is your neck of the woods, so I figure you could answer this. Is the rain helping the Hudson Valley drought?
I would assume so. We looked at the drought map, and there was severe drought up in my neck of the woods here in Putnam County. But that report ended the day before we started getting into all of this wet weather last Friday. So my assumption is that when we get the updated report, which will probably be either Thursday or Friday of this week, that we'll see that a significant dent has been made in the drought situation, at least here in the lower Hudson Valley.
By the way, just I want to show everybody really quick here. I meant to show this earlier when we were talking about that system moving into the Caribbean. The hurricane model tracking models are out. They are running them now for this, and you can see here that all of the tracks for the next 7 days are pretty much straight to the west and mostly south of 15 degrees north. If this is going to be something that would turn, you'd want to then it would have to be somewhere north of 15 degrees north. But again, we talked about the fact that there's that strong ridge up there in the Gulf of Mexico and into the southwest Atlantic, and that might keep this thing moving westward. The other thing is the intensity guidance is actually very bullish. We've got models. We actually have four models here, Joe, that have this as a category, becoming at least a category 3, and 2 of them have it up to category 4 in about 5 or 6 days. So, are you doing something?
Yes, I'm in the other room for checking something out.
Okay,
I'll be back, Vincent, unless you want to stay on the show right now.
Yeah, no, you got to come back because it's as you're moving away, we're getting this horrible tone.
Oh well, hang on. You have to put up a little bit. I'll try.
All right. Oh. Okay, I've muted Joe Rayo. So you can hear me, but I can't. Whoa. Anyway, folks, we're going to just call it a night. Have a great night. We'll be back tomorrow night at 7:35. Good night, everybody.